I saw this story out of Massachusetts, and I'm going to talk about it because maybe we need a very short break from the Canadian election. Oh, we will keep talking about the Canadian election and its reverberations, but I thought this was an interesting story. And although it's American, I think the principle is universal across the Anglosphere. Look at this. Bill to ban the B word heard at the State House. Which B word? Bill? Ban? Bully? No, the word bitch. I'm not sure why the Boston Herald is suddenly so shy about using that word. This Google search shows they've published the word nearly 400 times. Sorry if that word is hard on your ears. It's not a swear, by the way. It can definitely be offensive. Here's Webster's dictionary on the subject. They say there are 4 different meanings of the word. The first one is the female of the dog or some other carnivorous mammals. So it's just a technical term, a scientific term. That's what Webster says. The second one is the offensive term, a malicious, spiteful, or overbearing woman. The third is a generic term that Webster doesn't even call offensive, something that is extremely difficult, objectionable, or unpleasant. And then they give an example. Aspirin overdoses are a bitch to treat. Pamela Grimm. So they're quoting a female author using the term in that neutral way. The fourth is how I usually use the word, if I use it, to complain. Informal complaint. My biggest bitch with all of CBS Golf is that there's no personalization. Chuck Howard. Now, there are other uses of this word, obviously, and I don't propose to go into all of them because that's not really my point, other than to say the obvious. The word can be used in a great many ways, including in an endearing way by women to take ownership of the positive aspects of the word, I think. That's words for you. Context is a lot. We can all agree that the N word is racist, but it's also ubiquitous in rap music sung by black musicians. So are you really going to ban it? And who gets to decide that? This goofy guy? That's the guy who introduced the bill. Let's look at the story a little bit. A bill to outlaw the B word, the term for a female dog that is commonly used to slander women, is being slammed on both ends of the political spectrum as a case of government overreach and censorship. While I detest the use of the B word and the N word and the word fag, etc., I love the Constitution more and question the constitutionality of bills like this, said Arlene Isaacson, co-chairwoman of the Massachusetts Gay and Lesbian Political Caucus. The concern is specifically about the right to free speech, including speech that I hate. Well, that's pretty encouraging, isn't it? Not only that the first quote in this news story is in defense of free speech, but that it's from a woman, and a gay woman, no less. That's very encouraging to me. Here's more from the story. It's a very, very slippery slope, and at the end of the slippery slope is the anti-Webster's, the dictionary of words we can never use. Conservative political consultant Chip Jones told the Herald, we continually replace the right and responsibility of people to defend themselves from physical and emotional harm with government intervention. When we replace an individual's right or responsibility to defend themselves, we weaken people in society. That's pretty smart. I mean, seriously, you will never be able to ban words in real life. I'm sorry. Maybe instead of pretending that you can, how about equipping people with the skills to cope with real life and either ignore idiots or learn how to respond? Here's the Massachusetts legislature homepage for this bill. It really is a bill. I checked. It's called an act regarding the use of offensive words, except for they have words in plural. It's just one word they're banning. The operative section of the bill is so short, it's just 2 sentences long. I'll read the whole thing to you. A person who uses the word bitch directed at another person to accost, annoy, degrade, or demean the other person shall be considered to be a disorderly person in violation of this section and shall be subject to the penalties provided in subsections A and B. A violation of this subsection may be reported by the person to whom the offensive language was directed at or by any witness to such incident. That's it. That's the whole proposed law. I just read the whole thing to you. Now, I showed you an example a moment ago of how it's possible for the word bitch to be used positively, just like it's possible for gay people or black people or other minorities to take a pejorative word and take ownership of it and to use it on themselves to take the power away. Language is complicated that way, isn't it? You could have two women who are best friends and they could greet each other by using the word bitch. You really could. It's an inside joke. It's a form of compliment, whatever. I don't need to explain this. No one needs to explain how they talk. But if this law were to pass, and I don't think it will, simply accosting someone, that was the word they used, with the word bitch is now against the law. And look at the second sentence in the law. If you are called the word bitch, you can report the crime, says the law, but so can anyone else who just sees or hears it. Seriously, two friends or two enemies or two kids or two people, free citizens in America, no less, home of the First Amendment, could use the word bitch. And anyone who hears that can become a police informant and get them charged. That's the plain meaning of the bill. I read it to you. It's just 2 sentences long. I read you the whole thing. Is that the worst word in the world, by the way? I can think of other sexist words that are far worse. Frankly, I spend some time in the UK, and they use the C word over there so casually, it would make your hair stand up like a porcupine. Why isn't this legislator, Dan Hunt, seeking to ban that word? Not that I want him to, of course, but what a weird choice to ban just one word, even though the law says it'll ban words. Like I say, like Webster's dictionary says, the word bitch has inoffensive meanings and has offensive meanings, both. I guess it's like the word dick, which can be a nickname for someone named Richard. It can also mean a detective. It can also mean an idiot, or a mean idiot. Pretty much the male version of the word bitch, I guess. And of course, it's slang for male genitals too. I'm not trying to tell you every dirty word I know. I'm just making the point. Why is this weird censor, Dan Hunt, being such a dick about things? And why only about one word that he really doesn't like? Is this some form of weird virtue signaling to prove what a male feminist he is? That's my hunch. He'll abide any other derogatory word, any racist words, homophobic words, even anti-male slurs. There are some. But the one thing you just can't say around him is the word bitch, or he'll call the police even if he has to do it personally. Hey, can I call Dan Hunt a bitch? Maybe in the sense of whining and complaining, right? I mean, it doesn't have the sexist connotation then, does it? I remember back at Sun News when I did a video about Justin Trudeau kissing another man's bride on her wedding day. He was a stranger to them. He just encountered them, and he literally went up to the bride and kissed her in the place of the groom. How super gross was that? I talked a bit on that show at Sun News about how Pierre Trudeau set such a terrible example for Justin, how Pierre endlessly cheated on Margaret Trudeau, and then how she cheated on him back. I can't remember if I reported back then about how Pierre Trudeau would beat Margaret Trudeau physically so badly that she'd have a black eye the next morning. All of this was reported at the time, by the way. None of this is secret. None of this is news, really. And I suggested that Justin Trudeau had grown up with such a terrible experience, terrible role models about how men and women, husbands and wives, are supposed to act towards each other. And maybe that's why Trudeau today is a groper who puts his hands on any woman he wants to because Pierre Trudeau taught him he could. He's just weird, really, like his dad.
Because you're very handsome.
Thank you, Justin.
Kiss him.
I think because...
Yeah, he's just a weird guy. Now, Trudeau, Senior, Pierre Trudeau, it was really macho to cheat on his wife, Margaret. And weirdly, Margaret Trudeau herself used that exact word in newspaper stories about how Pierre Trudeau would beat her, but then be really macho afterwards. She said that. That's so gross. That's the home Justin Trudeau grew up in, that it's macho to beat a woman. And if you're part of that macho culture, you might call Pierre Trudeau a stud, S-T-U-D. He's a stud. He slept with any woman he wanted to, and he put those little ladies in their place, punched them if he had to. That was Pierre Trudeau. But in my Sun News video, I flipped the script because if you're a woman who sleeps around, you get called a different name, don't you? So I decided to use that word to describe Pierre Trudeau, not Margaret Trudeau, but Pierre Trudeau. I called Pierre Trudeau a slightly different word than stud, still a four-letter word that starts with S, but I called him, instead of S-T-U-D, I'd call him S-L-U-T. I called him a slut, which is a very odd thing to call a man, but why not? Would it not be sexist to only use that word against women, which I've never done, actually? And holy cow, did Justin Trudeau blow his top when I called Pierre Trudeau a slut. He complained to Brian Mulroney, I'm not kidding, who called the boss of Sun News, who was ordered to apologize to Justin Trudeau. Of course, I didn't apologize to Trudeau. The TV station ran something on the screen. That's their right to do so. But you see my point? But that was Justin Trudeau just being nervous about the issue of his treatment of women being discussed politically. Now he's prime minister. I'm sure he still calls up the heads of TV stations, but now he might call up police too if he likes. In fact, part of his new election platform is censorship of social media. Social media companies now only have 24 hours to ban something when he complains, when his platform becomes enacted. So yeah, this, back to Massachusetts, this buffoonish bully in Boston wants to ban a B word. That's a lot of B's, eh? The buffoonish bully in Boston wants to ban the B word. It sounds like a Dr. Seuss book. But it's virtue signaling on his part, I think. It's hypocritical for sure. It's weird. It's unenforceable, I think. But it shows the mentality of leftists. They want to lock you up. They want people to literally call the cops on you for using words they don't like, even if everyone else is fine or fine enough with them. I don't think I've ever called someone a bitch on TV before. And the only person I've ever called a slut, actually, in my whole life, is Pierre Trudeau. And I obviously stand by that. It's true. But even if you don't like any of these mean words, even if you don't like the T-shirts, and really I don't, I think they're sort of gross. If I saw someone wearing that shirt and my kids were around, I'd say, what are you doing wearing that around kids? Well, I think we still have to push back and defend free speech, even rude speech. Maybe especially we have to defend rude speech, because if we don't draw the line there, if we don't defend rude speech today, and we give that up, well, they'll come for the polite speech tomorrow. Oh, by the way, I've set up a little website, danhuntisabitch.com. Seriously, click on it. danhuntisabitch.com. Sorry. I guess I should report myself to police now, right? That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show, which is a show I do every day. I do a monologue, interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at premium.rebelnews.com.